Good morning guys, for people logging in now, how are we doing today? This is your Wednesday morning stretch class. Let me pop this down for a second. Wednesday morning stretch and recovery class. I have just come back from my run. I went out for a run this morning, so I'm a real sweaty Betty. So I'm using this for my little cool down, which is great. Kill two birds with one stone. So if you weren't here last week, this is our mid-week sort of stretch and recovery class. So any tension in the muscles, any little niggles, any sort of stiffness, tiredness, we're going to try and stretch it out. We're going to work through our mobility. We're going to try and improve our range of motion and get everything feeling nice and loose and flowy, ready for the end of the week if we're doing any more classes, any more workouts towards the end of the week. It is your active rest day, so we're still moving our body, we're still doing something, but we're not overdoing it. So this is going to make you feel really, really good when you finish, really relaxed, really energised, and hopefully it will help you with, as I say, the rest of your workouts during the week. I think my setup is a lot better today. If you were here last week, it was really, really dark. When I have the light coming in behind me, it makes it really shadowy. So I've kind of turned everything around. I think you can see a lot better. So let me know if you prefer this kind of setup. I think it's easier to see what I'm doing and hopefully have enough room to do everything for you. So you don't need anything for this class. Obviously make sure you have your exercise mat and something comfortable on. We're going to start on our feet and then we're going to go down into some mat work. You can have a drink handy if you want to have some water to sip on nearby as well. And just make sure that you are comfortable and relaxed, somewhere nice and quiet if possible. And we'll get started. So let me just pop this music back up again. Excellent. And if you were here on Monday's LBT class, you will be really needing this stretch because my quads are still on fire. Like literally my quads are still sore from Monday. So I apologise for Monday's really hardcore class if you're still feeling it. But hopefully this stretch will help you to recover from that and you'll feel better tomorrow. So starting on our feet, we're going to bring our feet just under our hips. And we're just going to tuck our pelvis under into a nice neutral spine, rolling the shoulders down, a nice relaxed stance, chin is neutral, and we're just going to work through the front of the body. So if I come side on, we're going to pop our hands on the small of our back. We can start here, or we can lock the elbows and start here. So here or here. And we're just going to work on hollowing out through the front of the body. So we pull in and hollow out, scooping out the front of the body, pulling the shoulder blades apart, chin comes down, and then we go the opposite way and we scoop out through the back. So we scoop out our spine, pushing our chest forward, pulling those shoulder blades together. And we run through a few of these. So hands on lower back or elbows can be clasped, hollow out. So tucking that pelvis under, trying to hollow out through that stomach, chin comes down, and then pushing everything out. Pulling those shoulder blades together, chin comes up, keep those knees nice and soft. Last time, hollowing out, trying to arch that back out the way, and then arching the back in the way. Good, so you might feel some popping through the top of the spine, some little clicks, that's okay, it's just the air releasing. Holding here. Good, we're going to come into some nice easy roll downs and forward hands. So again, feet under hips, knees nice and soft here. We're just going to roll down vertebra by vertebra, coming down. Take a nice generous bend in the knees if you need to, letting the head hang and the hands hang. We're going to shake our head and nod our head, releasing through that neck. You can ease out through those arms, just getting nice and comfy. Good, and then we roll it up, we come to halfway, so hands come onto those thighs just above the knee. We pull the back into a neutral position, releasing and extending through the spine, and then we come back down again. Again, you can take a generous bend in the knees if you need to get those hands down, hanging the head, pulling down through the chest, heavy head, release. And then slowly roll it all the way back up, vertebra by vertebra. The last thing that comes up is that head. Release those shoulders, and let's do that whole sequence one more time. So slowly lowering down, run those fingertips down your legs, coming into a nice easy forward hang. You might find you come a little bit lower this time, extending through that back, letting the head hang, releasing, shaking out any tension, and then we come up halfway, so hands come onto those thighs, neutral back, pulling the hips back and the heart forward, stretching out that back, nice and long, and then we roll back down. Hands to floor if you can. Again, you might feel you can come a little bit lower this time. Take that bend in the knees if you need to. And then we slowly roll back up. All the way up, one by one, nice and slow. Roll those shoulders down. Let that blood move back through the body, and then we take our feet a little bit wider. We're going to go for a wide-legged forward fold. So same thing again, but with our feet nice and wide. You might be able to come a little bit lower this way because you can move through that pelvis and do those hips a little bit lower. So we just bring the hands and the head down to follow. If you can get your hands onto the ground, toes facing forward. If not, just come to wherever you can come to. Working those hips up towards the ceiling. Hands come down if possible. And we're just going to rock forward and back. A few times. Just opening up, easing through those hips. Taking the weight into the hands and back into the feet. Good. Stretching out, head comes down. Release those knees if you need to. Take that bend. And then see if we can place our hands on our ankles, on our shins, on our knees, wherever you can. And let the head come down. In between. And then we'll slowly come all the way back up. Heel toe those feet back together, and then bring it down onto our mats. So slowly coming down onto the ground. We're going to take it back into a child's pose. So toes together, knees are separated. Sit that bum back down into the heels, and then slowly bring the hands forward. So we're trying to open our chest out and try and bring it as close to the mat as possible. So keep that bum pushed over those hips. Don't come out like this. Keep pushing the hands and hips away from each other. Head comes down. Again, easing into those hips. See if we can get a little bit closer to the ground. See if we can get a little more comfort through those hips. We never want to hold a really static pose. If you need to move it around in the pose to get comfortable, everyone's is going to look different. Feel free to do that. Dropping those shoulders, dropping the head down. And then we're going to walk the hands over to the left hand side. So take a walk so your torso comes over that left knee. Dropping the torso onto the knee. Trying to walk those fingertips away. So keep trying to inch those fingertips over and forward. Nice deep breaths into the lungs, expanding the back. And then walk those fingertips back to centre, and then walking over to the right hand side, dropping that torso down onto that right leg if you can, and walking those fingertips, stretching out through the back, keeping those hips pushing back towards the heels, not coming up off the ground. Holding here for a second, and then walking those fingertips back around. From here, we're going to come up into our slightly more tabletop position. So we have our knees under our hips, our hands under our shoulders, and we are going to go for a thread the needle. So we take our right hand, we thread it under our body, our right ear comes onto the mat, and we can either push down through this hand and get a little bit further, or you can walk this hand out in front and take a nice two-way stretch. So right ear is on the ground, right arm is coming through, palm up, right shoulder comes onto mat, and either push down through the hand or bring that hand forward, and just enjoy that little twist through the torso. Good. And then coming up, nice and slow, left hand comes under the body, left ear comes onto the mat. And again, pushing down through that right hand, or extending that right hand out and taking that nice deep two-way stretch. Keep the top of the feet on the mat. Enjoy that little rotation through the top of the body. And then bringing it back up, we're going to go into our cat-cows. So similar to what we did right at the start, we're going to think about hollowing out through the front of the body, pulling the shoulder blades apart, chin comes down, back pushes up towards the ceiling. So this is your cat, then imagine like a scared cat, when they arch their backs. And then the cow, we hollow out the back, chin comes up, and we pull the shoulder blades together. So cat, cow, knees are just under the hips, hands under the shoulders. Let's go for 3 nice, slow, easy cat-cows. So coming up, chin is tucked, separate those shoulder blades, hollow out those abs, and then smoothly roll through into your cow, chin comes up, arch that back, pull the shoulder blades together, and then reverse. So do this in your own time, nice and slow. Hold each position for a few breaths. And again, if you have any little pops and cracks through your back or your shoulders while you do this, that's absolutely fine. That is just the air releasing from in between your spine. Oh, this feels good. Excellent. Coming back to a neutral position. So nice neutral spine here. We're going to do a little bit more work on our lower back. So if you have any lower back issues, you can sit this one out, or you can try the different adaptations I'm going to give you. So our options here, we're going to come down onto the mat. We're going to come either into our prone sphinx. So we have our elbows on the mat, and we're just pulling up through the top of the body. Top of the feet are flat on the ground, and we just try and pull that chest up. That's your option for a nice easy level. If you want to bring it up, we're going to put our hands under our shoulders and come up into our cobra. So try and keep the hips on the mat, so we're not coming way up, we're pushing our hips into the mat, and we're lifting our chest through. So whichever option you're on, keep breathing. You can take it down if you need to, you can try it in cobra and come back to your sphinx if you'd rather. You can start in sphinx and come up to your cobra if you want to challenge yourself. But remember to keep pushing those hip bones into the mat. If you're coming up into cobra, come down first and then come up. Don't lock out the elbows, but just take that stretch through the back. You can bring the head back for a little bit extra, keeping those shoulders down away from the ears, and then slowly easing out of position and coming up into child's pose. Release the back just for a few seconds. Wiggle yourself down. Release any tension through that back. Good. And then coming up to sitting. So we are just going to release through our shoulders and our neck. A lot of people carry tension in the top of their body, through the shoulders to the top of the back of the neck, stiff necks, things like that. So we're just going to try and release anything that we can, especially if we're doing some upper body work, things like combat, pump, things like that. So we're just going to sit with our legs crossed if that's comfortable for you. You can have the legs out in front of you, but I find that a nice legs crossed position means you can get your back nice and straight and sit up nice and tall. Good. So from here, we are going to stretch out through our neck. So we're going to start with the neck. So we're just going to roll the neck, drawing a big circle with our nose in one direction, sitting up nice and tall, trying to pull those shoulders away from the ear. And then the other way, rolling out that neck. You might find one direction is a little bit stiffer than the other. Good. Nice big circles. Excellent. And we come up to centre. We're going to try and think about gluing, not actually gluing, but pulling our left ear down towards left shoulder. So if you think it's glued here, we unglue and we drop that shoulder. So we're keeping the left shoulder down, and we're just tilting that neck towards the left. When I say this, I said gluing, a lot of people do this. So we're not shrugging, we're pulling that left shoulder down, left ear comes towards left shoulder, and we just take the stretch down the right side of that neck. If you want a little bit more, you can bring that left arm up and over, and just hold onto the ear, just place it on top of the ear, and just let that head come over. If you feel any pain, any tension, drop that hand and just come for that natural pull. Good. And then we bring it up to centre, release if you need to. Again, don't glue, drop that shoulder, and we're tilting that ear to the right. So the shoulder stays where it is, it's the ear that comes down towards the right shoulder. Feel that stretch on the left hand side of the neck. If you want a little more, sorry, other hand. Right hand comes up onto ear and just helps encourage that head a little bit closer, but again, don't come up, drop that shoulder and let the head hang. If this is too much, drop that hand onto the knee and just feel the stretch. You'll feel that cord standing out on the left hand side. Good. Lovely, bringing it back up. From here, we're going to keep our back nice and straight. We're going to roll our shoulders back down the back of the body. We're going to pop our hands up into sort of a V position. We'll say W at the moment. So hands by the side, and we just lift and lower. So you imagine you're sandwiched between two bits of glass. The elbows can't go forward and back. You tuck them under, so you come here, and then you tuck those elbows so they're in line with your, well, not with your knees, but they're sort of lateral to the ground. And then we extend all the way up and all the way down. So you'll feel a little pinch in the back of the shoulder blades about when you get to here, and just pull down in towards your hips and extend. So again, we're not shrugging the shoulders up, shoulders are dropped, and we just move through our little W holds. Let's do 3 more. So 3, 2, and 1. Good, slowly coming down. We're going to place our left forearm down towards the ground. Hand can come down if you can't get the full forearm down, but hand comes down outside of the body, and we're going to take a little stretch over. So our right hand comes up, and as you lower your torso, you'll get that elbow a little bit closer to the ground. So try not to lift the knees up here, keep the lower body down and just take that side stretch. Look up towards that elbow, look down towards that hand, and then come up the other way. So right hand comes down onto the ground, make sure you've got enough space for the elbow to come down. Lifting up over towards the right, elbow starts to come down towards the ground. Don't worry if it doesn't come all the way down, just go to where you can. Try not to lift up that bum and that knee, try and keep them pressing down. Nice side stretch, look up towards that left elbow, looking down towards the ground, and then slowly coming out. Just shrug the shoulders, back the way, 3 big shrugs, and then forward, 3 big shrugs. Good. We're going to now take it down into our hips. So this is where people carry a lot of tension and have a lot of niggles, especially if you have like an office job. If you sit at a desk a lot of the time, you can get quite stiff through the hips. So this is a great way to open up through those hips, especially if you are a runner or you do a lot of cardio. You'll find this will really help you with your cadence, with your pace, feel a little bit more comfortable. So we're going to take it down into a nice low lunge. So you can start from your plank position or from your downward dog, or you can just start from your knees. You don't have to come into this in a really fancy way. We're going to bring the left leg forward. So can you still see me? So left leg comes forward and we're going to walk it into the middle of the body. We're going to have our hands either side, and we're going to think about pulling that chest up and forward and bringing it onto the knee. So we're not kind of just dropping onto the knee, we're staying nice and tall and extending through that spine, but we try and get our knee and our chest quite close. You can stay here with your back knee on the ground and tuck the toes under, and you feel that extension through the glute and into the internal rotation of the hip. If you want a little more, you can bring that back leg off and just push down through the toes, and then just start easing forward into that lunge. So again, you don't have to hold it really static. If that starts to hurt, doesn't feel comfortable, just start easing in. Can we go a little bit lower? Can we get that knee a little bit further forward? You can drop that knee anytime. Keep those toes tucked. You can walk that foot forward. We're just trying to find out what works best for your body. Good, so you should feel that nice stretch. You feel really good through those hips. From here, we're going to bring the left hand inside and walk that left knee out. So coming into our lizard pose. So I'd recommend you have your back knee down for this one. You can come up all the way if you're really experienced, but I would recommend having that back knee down just because we're working with external rotation and it'll keep your balance a little bit better. So knee comes out and we're going to just take that left elbow or left hand and just pull that knee out a little bit. So external rotation through that hip, opening up that joint. Lovely. Good. And then we're going to come into our swan pose or our pigeon pose. So coming up, we're going to drop that knee out and come to sit over the knee. So knee faces out the way, drop those toes. So from a tucked position, we drop those toes. You can stay here with the hands on the mat and the chest nice and high and just work through again, wiggling into the hip if you need to. The foot should come into the pelvis. If you want a little more, you can drop down into those forearms, pulling that chest forward, keeping that nice neutral spine. If you want even more, you can drop that chest onto the ground and take a full stretch, walking those fingers forward. So the knees facing out the way if you can. And again, just rock that pelvis over that back heel, that front heel, sorry, until you feel those hips get that nice little stretch. Good. From here, we bring the hands back up and we're going to tuck the toes and just bring that knee forward. So from the side, we're now having it facing forward. So knee faces forward, untuck those toes, bringing down. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to stay here, if you like it here, or we can bring those forearms down onto the mat, bringing that sort of stomach onto the knee, chest pulling forwards, or you can come all the way down and lie out over that knee, wherever you feel comfortable. If you want a little bit more, if you want a little two-way stretch, you can lift up that back leg, come up onto our hands. We can grab hold of it. We can pull it in. You might get it onto your elbow if you do a lot of yoga, a lot of Pilates. You could just hover it here, or you can keep it down. Just playing about with what feels good for you. And then we're going to come out of this, coming back into our plank or our down dog, or just coming back onto our knees. So tucking the toes, you come up and bring the other foot through. So again, you can encourage it forward. That I know I didn't do that very well, but it's fine. So it comes into the middle, hands either side. You can have the toes tucked and the knee down, or you can come up into that full low runner's lunge. So we're going to do all on the right side. Chest comes down onto that knee if you can. If you want to drop the knee, keep the toes tucked, and we just ease through that lunge. Play about with the foot placement until it feels comfortable for you. You might find that one side of your body is a little tighter. For me, my right hip is tighter, so this feels a little bit different for me, but I'm just going to ease through until I can feel where it feels good for me. Again, if you want that knee off, bring it up, and you might get a little bit further forward into that lunge. From here, we bring the right hand in the middle, we walk out that right knee out towards the outside of the mat, and we drop that knee out to the side. Elbow can push in. If I turn slightly so you can see. So elbow pushes in, or palm comes on and just encourages that hip out to the side. A little bit. Dropping that pelvis through and taking that external rotation through that hip. Knee can come off, but that is a more advanced option. I'm happy with your knee down on the mat. And we're going to finish off this sequence with our swan pose. So we can come up and then drop that knee through so it's facing out towards the right. Try and get it facing out as far as you can. And then we drop our hip down and we can stay here or come down onto any of our floor variations. I like my forearms down on the ground. That gives me the best stretch through that hip, but you could come all the way out if you want to really take that two-way stretch. So just encourage that knee to come out. Heel comes in towards the pelvis. And we just relax into that hip. From here, we come up and we bring that knee forward, so in between our hands. So knee facing forward, everything facing in the same direction. Remember to drop those toes so the top of your foot is on the mat. I know you can't see mine, but that's what I'm doing. And then again, we can come down onto the forearms. We can come all the way out into a full stretch, or we can bring the chest up, raise that back leg, have a little hold. Whoa. Doesn't matter if you wobble. Stretching out. Drop that if it feels better, let it hover if it does, play about. Just enjoy that stretch through the hip. And then bring that knee in, coming back into your child's pose to stretch out that back. And then we're going to work a little bit through our ankles and our toes and finish off the little hip sequence. So from here we come onto our hands and knees, hands come down in front, our right leg is going to shoot out, so toes facing forward. So same direction as you're looking in, same direction as your hands are pointing. We're going to keep the back toes tucked, so the back toes are tucked onto the ground, and we're just going to roll back, sitting onto that heel, and coming forward. So just ease those hips back and forward. So this is a good stretch through the toes, right into the inside of that leg, into those adductors. And a nice relaxation for the hips. Good. Last one. Sitting back. And then we switch sides. So our right knee comes down. Left leg goes out to the side. Toes facing forward. Hands come out in front of you. Back toes are tucked and behind that knee. And then we sit back, stretching out those toes. Coming forward. Try and keep that left heel and foot flat on the ground. And when you come back here, you'll feel that stretch on the internal upper thigh. Good. So nice and slow, just rolling back, bringing that bum down to that hip. Excellent. Coming up to neutral, bring that knee in. We're going to come with our feet facing forward, so feet come through, feet come out the front of the body, sitting up nice and tall. Make sure you're sitting on those sit bones so you can do a little readjust, and make sure you're sitting right back on those sit bones. So many crumbs on these leggings. That's why I shouldn't work out in the dining room. We're going to have our feet in front of us, slightly just by hip width apart or so. We're going to have our hands out behind us, making sure our chest stays forward, and we're going to go into our 90-90 twist. So we're going to drop the knees to one side, keeping that bum on the mat, and then lifting up to centre, and then dropping the other way. So don't come away up here. It doesn't matter if your knees hit the ground or not. Try and make sure your feet stay in position. And we just drop. One leg follows the other. Dropping down, keeping that bum as close to the mat as we can. External and internal rotation. You can bring them a little bit closer and you might get a little bit lower. So we're going to do one more on each side, one more to the left, and one more to the right. Excellent. Let's come and lie on our backs. So nice and slow, roll down, pressing those shoulder blades into the mat. Take that little pelvic tuck so our lower back is flat onto the mat. We're going to bring the knees up and just rock from side to side, nice and gently, releasing that lower back, massaging into the mat, giving those hips a little hug as well. So pulling the hips up, different direction. Good. One hand comes onto one knee each, or one hand comes onto like left knee, right hand onto right knee, and then we're just going to draw big circles with those knees. So separate and pulling in back together. Try and keep the toes together if you can. Keep that lower back pressing onto the mat. Keep that head down. And then we're going to go in the other direction. So easing out the way. And this should feel really good on the lower back, into those hips. Nice and relaxing. We're going to place the right leg down onto the ground. You can have the knee bent or you can have it flat, whichever feels more comfortable for you. I like to have mine flat to get a little bit more extension. And we're just going to drop that left knee out towards the side. So with the hand on top, come slightly into the inside of the knee and just encourage that knee out towards the ground. So make sure your right bum stays on the mat. Pull that right hip down towards the ground. So we're not rolling over, we're keeping nice and flat and just letting that knee drop to the side. Flex the ankle here, roll the ankle round, draw some circles. Flex and extend. And then bring back up to center. That leg comes out again, knee can be bent, leg can be straight. Right knee comes up, give it a little hug, and then pull the knee out towards the side, so bringing the hand on the inside, and then let that leg drop out to the side. Keeping the back and the left side of the body pressing into the mat. You can go as far, you might only come out to here, you might not be able to come as low, you might just prefer to be a little bit rotated, just wherever feels good for you. And we're trying to encourage that knee as close to the ground as we can. And then flex and extend that ankle, roll through the ankle. Just release through the foot. And come back up. We're just going to do our final little rotation and a twist, so make sure you can see what I'm doing. Let me wiggle up, there we go. We are going to have both feet facing flat onto the ground. Nice pelvic tuck, make sure the upper body's pressing in. We're going to keep that right leg straight. We're going to bend the left knee and put it over the right leg. So right hand comes onto the outside of that knee and we just roll that knee over. Left hand comes out and we look towards that left hand. So this is our little two-way stretch. Glutes and spine. So again, make sure that the right hand side of the body is pressing into that mat. Encourage that left knee over, but press the left shoulder blade down into that mat. Looking out over that left hand, so knee in one direction, hand in the other. Two-way stretch. And then slowly uncurl Coming up to centre, left knee comes straight, right knee bends over, left hand onto the outside of that knee, and just rolling that knee over. Right hand comes out, head turns towards right hand, pressing right shoulder blade into mat, encouraging that knee over the body, two-way stretch, easing out through the spine. Nice deep breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And when you're ready, uncurling, letting that foot follow the left, coming out to lie nice and flat on the mat. So we're going to do our little cool down, relaxation, unwinding. So lying out nice and flat, hands come down, palms facing up, supine position. Make sure you're feeling nice and heavy, pressing that body into the mat. Let the feet fall out to the side. Just give me a couple of shakes through the head until you get a nice comfortable neck position here. And then we're going to close our eyes and we're going to let ourselves sink into the mat, feeling heavy. Release any tension through the jaw, just stretch out that jaw, make sure you're not clenching, through the teeth, through the chin. Release that back, you don't have to tilt the pelvis, just come into a nice neutral spine, wherever feels comfortable for you. Make sure the shoulders are away from the ears. And let yourself sink a little bit further into the mat, into the ground. Clear your mind and just focus on relaxing. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Filling your lungs and emptying. And then slowly bring awareness back into the body. We're going to wiggle our toes, feel the energy coming up through our feet, roll those ankles, coming up the shins into the knees, just release those knees, walking those knees into the mat, coming up the body, into the hips, releasing all the way up your spine, into your neck. So bring your head back to life, rolling side to side. It's coming down your arms, into your fingertips, wiggling your fingers, rotation through the wrists if you want to ease off into those wrists, and then shooting back up into the head, opening those eyes. Release that neck again, and then when you're ready, we're going to slowly come up to sitting. You can lie here for as long as you want. I'm not going to stop you. You can have a little nap if you want to. If you're ready to come up, just come up nice and slow. And then coming into a seated position, just dropping the hands onto the knees. And have a little think about how that feels. Do you feel nice and relaxed? Do you feel a little bit looser? Do you feel energized? Just enjoying the peace and quiet for a little second longer. Coming to life, letting the blood return to the body. And now you are free to enjoy the rest of your day. So I am taking next week off. I've been teaching for 17 weeks now without a break and back at work and doing my own workouts and things. So I'm taking next week off for a little well-earned rest. But I will see you all again the week after. I'm sure there'll be a new timetable, so I don't know what I'm going to be teaching, but whatever it is, you're more than welcome to come and join. Thank you for the past 4 and a bit months. I know I have a lot of regulars who join the classes, so it's lovely to have you, and anybody who's new, you're more than welcome. It's been a pleasure. I will see you all in a week's time. Go and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, hopefully moving a little bit more freely. See you soon.